Monitoring the climate situation daily for several years, we have analyzed the events that have occurred and identified their patterns. This year has shown that the alarming trends, which were previously barely noticeable, are now occurring significantly more often and with greater intensity. We decided to create this video not in the usual format of a weekly report, but as an analytical overview of the new dangerous manifestations of climate catastrophes. During the preparation of the material, we were shocked by the information about how catastrophically the situation on the planet has worsened in 2024. Now you will be able to see this for yourselves. Tornadoes. The increase in global temperature and humidity contributes to the formation of more powerful storms, often accompanied by tornadoes. This leads not only to an increase in their frequency, but also to anomalies in all of their characteristics. In the United States, where tornadoes are most common, the number of tornadoes from January to November 2024 significantly exceeded the annual average, making it the second highest total in recorded history. Although the total number of days with tornadoes is decreasing, the number of events on those days is sharply increasing. Scientists refer to this phenomenon as the increase in tornado outbreaks. At the end of April, a 3-day tornado outbreak affected the central United States, from Texas to Iowa. During this event, at least 160 tornadoes, ranging from EF0 to EF4, were recorded. The disaster left thousands of people homeless, resulted in 5 fatalities, and more than 100 people were injured. In Europe, the average annual number of tornadoes has increased more than 18 times over the past few decades. In the incomplete year of 2024, the number of these events reached the highest level in recorded history. The strength of European tornadoes has also increased significantly. For example, on September 26th, a tornado of category F2, EF2, was recorded in Belgium. Tornadoes of such strength are rare in Europe. The storm tore power lines from the ground, ripped off roofs, lifted solar panels into the air, and uprooted trees. Earlier, on July 13th, several tornadoes struck northern Lithuania, destroying villages. The wind speed of one of the vortices reached at least 60 meters per second, which corresponds to an F2 category tornado. According to experts, it was one of the most powerful tornadoes in Lithuania's history. It should be noted that tornadoes require heat to form, which is why their peak occurs during warm months and in the daytime. However, in recent years, climate patterns have changed. Here are just a few examples. The tornado season in the United States, which previously lasted from April to October, has not only become blurred but is now virtually non-existent. For example, on the night of November 3rd, powerful storms and at least 5 tornadoes hit Oklahoma. Nighttime tornadoes are more than twice as deadly as daytime ones, and this is supported by research. Another anomalous event occurred on December 14th. A tornado swept through Santa Cruz County in California, USA, where such events are extremely rare. The storm tossed cars off the road and injured 5 people. The geography of tornadoes is also expanding. These events have become more frequent in regions that are not typical for them. For example, from July 4th, at least 3 fast-moving tornadoes occurred in the Chinese province of Shandong. They tore off roofs, threw cars, and broke trees. The storm affected 83 people, and 5 people died. This series of tornadoes alone exceeded the average annual count several times. Powerful tornadoes, which were previously considered anomalies in India, are becoming more frequent in the country, even though there is no official monitoring of these events. On March 31st, the storm unleashed its power on the Jalpaiguri district in West Bengal. The tornado was so strong that it scattered motorcycles and cars and easily demolished buildings. More than 300 people were injured, and 5 lost their lives. In Russia, according to studies, up to 15 major tornadoes with wind speeds exceeding 50 meters per second have been recorded. And one particularly powerful tornado reached speeds of over 70 meters per second. Typically, they occurred in the southern regions of the country. However, in 2024, a whole series of tornadoes took place much further north, where they had previously been an extreme rarity. Many residents of various regions witnessed a tornado for the first time in their lives. The most shocking event was the devastating tornado in the Moscow region, which on September 28th destroyed the village of Berezino. Roofs of almost all houses were torn off, hundreds of trees were uprooted, and a mobile communication tower was turned into a pile of twisted metal by the tornado. The European Database of Dangerous Weather Phenomena assigned it the category IF3, EF3. It combined several anomalies. A tornado of such strength in autumn and in temperate latitudes is an absolutely exceptional event. The behavior of several tornadoes literally left experts puzzled. A powerful thunderstorm triggered a very rare phenomenon that occurred on April 30th in Oklahoma. The tornado's funnel was rotating clockwise, which contradicts the usual behavior of vortices in the northern hemisphere. However, this year, even such extremely rare phenomena are becoming less unique. For example, on October 28th, a tornado was recorded in the Spanish region of Valencia, rotating clockwise, which destroyed buildings and lifted debris into the air. Temperature anomalies. Scientists claim that 2024 will be the hottest year on record. The average global temperature from January to November this year was 0.14 degrees Celsius, higher than the same period in 2023. But how has this seemingly small figure, from the perspective of an average person, affected humanity? Temperature records are being broken one after another. On July 20th, in the Japanese city of Shizuoka, a temperature of 38.9 degrees Celsius was recorded, nearly 10 degrees higher than the usual climate norms for this region. In India, the temperature reached 46 degrees Celsius in April. Such heat became unbearable for people, with many losing consciousness right at their workplaces. To cope with the extreme conditions, police officers began wearing helmets with built-in air conditioners. On July 6th, the temperature in Death Valley National Park in the USA reached 53.3 degrees Celsius. This record-breaking heat prevented a helicopter with medical personnel from taking off, and one person died from a heat stroke. An even greater danger is the fact that abnormal temperatures now come in the form of heat waves, which are becoming more frequent, longer-lasting, and more intense. In 2024, almost all countries faced record-breaking heat waves. Since the end of May, the city of Phoenix, USA, has experienced unbearable heat, lasting for a full 113 consecutive days, with temperatures exceeding 37.8 degrees Celsius. After the hottest summer in history, the city was once again hit by a heat wave in the fall. In Phoenix, October temperatures, which previously never exceeded 43.3 degrees Celsius, reached this mark 4 times in 2024. Extreme heat in June turned into a tragedy in Saudi Arabia. In Mecca, the temperature remained above 40 degrees Celsius for several days in a row. This period of abnormal heat coincided with the Hajj, resulting in over 2,700 pilgrims suffering from heat stroke on June 16th. People were collapsing right on the streets from the unbearable heat. At least 1,300 people died. A new challenge is posed by so-called tropical nights, when the temperature during the night does not drop below 20 degrees Celsius, preventing both people and nature from recovering. In the summer, South Korea faced the longest period of such nights in the history of meteorological observations. In Seoul, the temperature did not fall below 25 degrees Celsius for 30 consecutive nights, while in Busan, tropical nights lasted for over 3 weeks. What is shocking is that tropical nights have now started to be recorded even in winter. In Morocco, on December 1st, the night temperature reached 26 degrees Celsius, which is a summer daytime temperature for this region. On December 16th, the temperature on the Canary Islands reached 29.6 degrees Celsius at night, setting a record for the hottest December night in the Northern Hemisphere in recorded history. abnormal heat is followed by sharp cold, and vice versa. At times, the seasons seem to be mixed up. In April, Europe experienced a sharp temperature drop. Such values were recorded here for the first time in history. In Slovenia, the temperature dropped by more than 26 degrees Celsius in just one day. In Austria, the summer heat of 30 degrees Celsius was replaced by freezing temperatures in just 2 days. In April, a larger part of Europe was warmer than in midsummer, and then frost arrived. These sharp temperature fluctuations have harmed agriculture. In Poland, rapeseed fields and strawberry plantations froze. In France, frosts damaged thousands of hectares of orchards and vineyards. Part of the harvest was destroyed in just 2 nights. The losses averaged 77%. In early May, abnormal weather settled over the European part of Russia. The first 10 days of the month became the coldest on record. Heavy snowstorms hit 20 regions, and temperatures in some areas dropped to minus 10 degrees Celsius. Even in Krasnodar Krai, in the south of the country, snow fell after 30 degrees Celsius heat. Abnormal frosts and snowstorms caused damage to crops in 41 regions of the country, destroying over 1 million hectares of crops. Cold comes in waves. In July, there was no region in Argentina that escaped abnormally low temperatures. In Buenos Aires, on July 6th, a temperature of minus 5 degrees Celsius was recorded, whereas the average minimum temperature for this month is plus 9 degrees Celsius. In some areas, the temperature dropped to minus 17 degrees Celsius. Ducks froze right in the ponds, sheep were trapped in deep snowdrifts, and the military was involved in delivering food to the affected areas for both people and animals. Even the sea, along with hundreds of rivers and lagoons across the country, froze. Drought. We are witnessing a paradoxical situation. Despite the increase in extreme amounts of precipitation, droughts are intensifying in various parts of the world. Southern Africa is experiencing the most severe drought disaster in a century. Many countries have declared a national disaster. In Zambia, more than 1 million hectares of crops were lost, leading to a widespread food shortage. By August 2024, residents of 23 out of 28 districts of Malawi were in such dire conditions that they required emergency food aid to survive. In some countries, mass culling of wild animals, including elephants, was started to feed the local population. On the Italian island of Sicily, one of the country's main breadbaskets, feed production decreased by 70% this year due to severe water shortages and unbearable heat. In Greece, many farmers transported water by truck to save the olive harvest. In Hungary, drought losses since the beginning of the year have exceeded $1.5 billion. Drought is increasingly affecting regions where it was once a rare occurrence. Brazil is facing the strongest drought in its history for the second consecutive year. About 60% of the country's territory has been affected, and rivers have dwindled to critical levels. In the city of Brasilia, there was no rain for 167 consecutive days. In October, the water levels in the Solimões and Rio Negro rivers, the largest tributaries of the Amazon, fell to record lows since observations began in 1902. It became impossible to travel by boat on the rivers, and people had to walk home under the scorching sun. Fish, the main source of food for local residents, disappeared. The severe shortage of drinking water triggered an outbreak of intestinal infections. NASA's GRACE satellites have been tracking the depletion of global freshwater reserves since 2014. Today, this figure has reached critically low levels. The reduction of river runoff has been recorded in hundreds of river basins worldwide, affecting 107.5 million people. Around the world, lakes are rapidly drying up or disappearing altogether. In Spain, a historical drought has drained one of the key reservoirs, Sau. In the summer of 2024, Lake Kato Skolari in Greece literally evaporated, and instead of the unique Lake Picrolimni, only cracked earth remained. In September, Ecuador faced an energy crisis caused by an intense drought. Low water levels in reservoirs led to a sharp reduction in hydroelectric power generation, which is the primary source of electricity in the country. As a result, daily power outages lasted up to 14 hours, causing massive economic losses and forcing many businesses to shut down. In October 2024, extremely dry conditions spread across more than half of the United States, affecting over 78% of the population. This marked an absolute record in the 25-year history of observations. From June to October, the area affected by drought grew from 12% to 54%, from 12 to 54%. The rapid development of this phenomenon was identified by experts as a sudden drought. This phenomenon occurs instantaneously, within just a few weeks or months, is impossible to predict, and leads to the most severe consequences. Fires. Droughts and heat waves significantly increase the risk of wildfires, even in regions where they were once rare. The northernmost state of Brazil, Roraima, is covered by tropical forests, and its humid climate previously did not favor the occurrence of fires. However, in February of this year, more than 2,000 active fires were recorded in the region. This is 5 times higher than the average for this month. In the Pantanal, the largest tropical wetland area in the world, the area affected by fires increased tenfold in May and June compared to last year. The fires severely damaged the ecosystem, destroying about 1.5 million hectares, particularly in Bolivia and Paraguay. The seasonality of wildfires no longer exists. Fires can occur at any time of the year. In Canada, large fires began as early as March. The cause was zombie fires, which continued smoldering under the snow from the previous season. There were an unprecedented 149 of them this winter, and by May, thousands of people in British Columbia were forced to evacuate their homes due to the threat of fires. The wildfire season in the United States typically peaks from June to September, but this year, by February, nearly 568,000 hectares had been destroyed, setting a record for February in the country's history. Previously, fires were more common in uninhabited natural areas, but due to the difficulty of containing them, fire is increasingly spreading into cities. On August 11th, a powerful fire broke out near the Greek town of Varnavas. The fire quickly engulfed the settlement, with flames reaching up to 25 meters high, burning everything in its path. One person died. Due to strong winds, the uncontrolled fire rapidly approached Athens. Thousands of people were evacuated from the suburbs of the capital. The wildfire severely affected Izmir, the third largest city in Turkey, as well as the surrounding provinces. Due to strong winds, the fire quickly spread to the residential areas of one of the most densely populated and developed districts of the city. The fire lasted for 24 hours, damaging homes and dozens of shops in the industrial zone. As a result of the incident, 78 people were injured, 29 of whom were hospitalized. Wildfires are becoming increasingly larger and more intense. Many assess the increase in fires by their number, but recent years, and especially 2024, show a paradoxical picture. The number of fires remains almost unchanged, while the area affected by flames significantly increases. A striking example is the situation in the United States, where this year the number of fires is 2,500, fewer than the average of the last 10 years. However, the burned area has exceeded the average by 683,000 hectares. One example is Smokehouse Creek, which ignited in Texas, USA, on February 26th. It became the largest fire in the state's history, spreading at an enormous speed, 2 football fields per second. In just a few days, nearly 405,000 hectares were burned, leaving a trail visible even from space. Wildfires are becoming so powerful that they begin to create their own weather phenomena. In September 2024, a large line fire in Southern California covered hundreds of hectares and generated a unique type of cloud known as fire clouds. These clouds form similarly to thunderstorm clouds. The heat from the fire creates powerful upward currents of hot air, and water vapor condenses on smoke particles, forming clouds. The line fire turned into a full-fledged thunderstorm with strong, gusty winds and an enormous number of lightning strikes. More than 3,500 strikes. This significantly intensified the fire and made it more difficult to extinguish. Another reason why it is difficult to extinguish the fire is degassing. This is the process of flammable gases escaping from underground, which has intensified in recent years due to increased geological activity. Such fires typically occur along tectonic fault lines. In 2024, wildfires affected other regions of the world as well. Southern Europe experienced the most destructive wildfire season in its history. In August, there was a sharp increase in the area affected by wildfires in several African countries, particularly in Angola and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. In just 1 week, about 22 million hectares burned, accounting for approximately 80% of the total area of wildfires worldwide. In the first 9 months of 2024, 2.5 million, 2.5 million hectares burned in the Zabaikalsky Krai of Russia, setting a record for the past 15 years. The intensification of wildfires was also observed in October and November in northern Australia. In 2024, natural disasters have broken hundreds of thousands of records, but these are not the kinds of records to be proud of. On the contrary, we are facing a series of extreme catastrophes that are destroying our future with each passing day. Even a small anomaly in the behavior of natural phenomena can lead to catastrophic consequences for billions of people. If we continue to ignore this, tomorrow nothing will simply return to normal. In each video, we show possible ways out of the current situation and explain how each of us can influence the course of events. And we will repeat this over and over again. If your life and the lives of your loved ones matter to you, you cannot turn a blind eye to what is happening. By watching the international forum, Global Crisis Responsibility, you will gain a deep understanding of the situation and learn what needs to be done today. Defending our future is our responsibility, whether we want it or not. We are the only ones who can stand up for our lives.